Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another Self-Working Saturday. Today I'm teaching you a really old trick by Animan. It comes from the Jinx, a really old magic magazine. This one's called the new Nightmare Effect, and man, it's just an oldie but a goodie. So let's get into it. Alright, so what I did right before I hit record is I took a card out of this deck and I wrote a prediction on the back of it, alright? So we'll get to that here in a moment. For now, I'd like you to pick a card, but not like this. Let's make it more random than that, alright? Just so it's a completely free choice. Why don't you just cut to a card, alright? So go and take the cards. And just so it's more random so we can see it, turn it face up, alright? So all the cards you can see are totally mixed up and they're different. Now what I want you to do is pick some cards up like this and then turn them over on top of the deck, alright? But just so it's completely blind and random, take it under the table just so nobody could see what you're doing, alright? So it's completely fair and completely blind, alright? So go ahead and do that. Take the cards under the table and cut to a card, turn it over just like that. Now we'll take a look at the card that you happen to cut to, alright? So you cut to the King of Hearts. And I want you to notice that if you cut anywhere else, maybe one card less, one card more, maybe it could have been a 6 or a 3 or a 2. End card is possible. Had you done it the other way, if the card was turned around like this, you would have cut to the 8 of Spades. But you cut to the King of Hearts. And I want you to see that there are no other Kings of Hearts in this deck. There's no duplicates of that card. Alright, so you can see that real quick. There are no other Kings of Hearts like the one that you cut to. You can see that very clearly. Just like this, there are no extra cards or anything silly like that, alright? So, for the first time, the card that has been sitting here the whole time, the card I wrote down is the King of Hearts. You can see that right there. I wrote down the King of Hearts. That's crazy, right? But the craziest thing about this is the fact that I said that there are no Kings of Hearts in this deck, and I meant it. Look, this card is not a king. It's a different card altogether. There are no Kings of Hearts in this deck at all, which could only mean one thing. This card is the very King of Hearts. Alright, so what you'll need for this effect is obviously a Sharpie and a King of Hearts card. It could be any card, but the one thing you do need is a card that is not a normal card. It's in fact a double-faced card. So here I have the 8 of Spades and the King of Hearts double facer. Now you want to get a matching card on the double facer like the King of Hearts, and that'll be your prediction. So just to make sure that the spectators don't see any duplicates, you will also take out the card that matches the other side of the double facer, in this case the 8 of Spades. Just discard it for now. So here's the setup. You can either do this in real time and you can just have the King of Hearts floating in the deck as it is with no writing on it yet, and then we'll just do that. Alright, so you'll put the double facer on the bottom with the non-prediction sides showing. So in this case we'll have the 8 showing on the bottom, and then somewhere in the middle of the deck you'll have your prediction card, the King of Hearts. Alright, so what you're going to do is say that you'll take out a prediction. This is doing this in real time for this method. Alright, so you just run through it. Don't flash that double facer, of course. You just do a block pushover so you don't flash that. Alright, so you'll spread through and look for the King of Hearts, alright, and make sure you don't show it yet, and then you'll put it face down, and then you'll take the Sharpie and you'll write the King of Hearts on it and make sure they don't see it. Say, I don't want you to see this when I'm writing it because it's going to be a secret. Alright, so you write the King of Hearts on there and then you hide it under the card box, or you can already just have this somewhere like in your wallet or in the card box ready to go beforehand. It's up to you. Either way, have this somewhere reachable. And then what you're going to do is mix the deck to where the bottom card stays there, maybe with the center Hindu shuffle like this, or whatever you want to do to make sure you don't flash it and that it stays on the bottom. Alright, so now you do the Paul Curry force where the deck is turned face up and they can cut anywhere, but make sure it's under the table so they don't see the actual card they cut to, right? So your reason for this is just so you can do it completely blind, so nobody could possibly know beforehand, and just so there's a completely random choice, do it under the table. And what you're trying to do is create a more fair feeling about this force rather than it being kind of weird. So here's what happens when they're under the table. The card, when they cut, the card they cut to will be just a random card, but when they turn it over, because that double facer is right here, when they take it back up and they spread through, the first face up card will be the King of Hearts, because the double facer, because it turned around, right? So what you're going to do is be like, look, the card that you cut to is the King of Hearts, all right? Had you cut anywhere else, it would have been the Jack or the 4 or 3 or anywhere. And now what you do is you're going to switch it like this. So you just scoop the deck up and you say, had you done it the other way, the card you cut to would have been the 8 of Spades, or cut anywhere else, it would have been the Queen or the 2 or anything. But you cut to the King of Hearts. And what you're doing here is pointing to that first face down card, which looks like it's supposed to be the King, but it's not. It's just a random card, the card they actually cut to. So you just upjog it and you say, look, I really want to see that there are no other Kings of Hearts in the deck, alright? So you take this half and you turn it face up and you spread it. Say, look, there's no other Kings of Hearts in this deck. There's nothing silly about this deck. And you're really trying to show and prove that there are no other Kings of Hearts in this deck. And you're over saying this. There's no other Kings of Hearts in this deck. There is no Kings of Hearts in this deck. So you're just doing this. There's no Kings of Hearts in this deck. The card that I wrote down, the card that you cut to under the table, I wrote down the King of Hearts. And then what you're going to do is say, look, the crazy thing about this is that there is no Kings of Hearts in this deck. Even this card is not the King of Hearts. There's no kings in this deck, which can only mean one thing. The king is right here. Alright guys, so as always, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me, and I love reading all your comments. I read every single one of them, and yeah. Until next time, happy practicing. I love you guys.